So yeah, so there's studies actually in the lab that show that, if you constantly kind of shoo a child away from something, over time, they will begin to learn that the task is not for them. And like you talked about with entertaining, that they're, if you tell a child, I gotta finish cleaning the dishes, go play with Legos, go watch TV. Eventually over time they will learn that my role in the household is to watch TV, is to play, is to study, is whatever that task is. Now, if you do the opposite and you include them in that, in the task that you're doing, or even just not shoo them away, just let them be there. Really, children just need to be around you when you're doing it. They learn without you teaching them. There's tons of data on that. That over time, they will see that, oh, this is part of my job. This is part of my role and purpose in the family, is to, come help with dinner, come clean up after dinner, do the dishes, do the laundry. So one of the researchers told me, they use a very sophisticated form of inclusion in tasks. And part of it is just letting the child be there, not shooing them off. And another part is including them in very small things that they can do very quickly and easily. So I figured this out because I was giving Rosie way too big of tasks. I would be like, load the dishwasher, or set the table even, set the table, or like, clean the living room, these huge tasks for a 3-year-old. And then the Hadzabe moms in Tanzania really showed me that whoa, that's not it at all. It is handing Rosie a fork or two, and not, depending on the age, and saying, put these forks on the table, right? Or she's in the kitchen with me, handing her, some cilantro, cut the cilantro, stir the pot. Even just when we're cleaning up the living room, I hand her a book, put this book away, right? So these very tiny, tiny little tasks that the child can do very fast, then and get it done and meets their skill. And then they feel like they're contributing. They're like, "Ooh, I put those forks on the table." That's all they need. It needs to be small, it needs to be doable, and it needs to be real. So it's not fake. And what will happen is over time, just that involvement will motivate them to want to help more, and the tasks will get bigger and bigger, right? And so, now Rosie can really set the whole table, after years of like forks and plates and things like that, and this is really how every culture around the world, besides European culture, teaches children immense skills. So like up in the Arctic, children learn to hunt, they learn to fish, they learn to clean, butcher animals this way, starting at a very early age, being around the parents and having these little tasks to do. And they really can't be too small. When we were in Tanzania, I really learned this because the moms would do this to me. Like whenever we did anything, they would stick a baby on me, on my back, like, you're carrying this baby, and they wouldn't ask, will you carry a baby? They just stuck the baby on my back. And then they handed Rosie something to carry. So every time we went somewhere, we were contributing, we were part of the team. And that's what gives that child that feeling like, oh, I'm useful and I'm needed and I'm connected to this person that loves me and that I love. And I think in a lot of ways, that's what a lot of kids are missing in America, is this feeling of like, I'm part of this team and I'm useful.
Yeah. That purposefulness. It's so crazy. Cause like, as you describe this, like every part of me is screaming like, duh, like
Yes.
some of the best truths that we get are the ones where we're like, duh, we should have known this, like this makes so much sense. Like, of course we start with teeny tiny tasks, but somehow it's been kind of like trained out of our culture and in the sort of consumer culture of like there's a lot of money to be made selling products for kids and telling us that we need to entertain kids, whereas really it's brilliant for kids to be bored because they're like so creative, but then also they're interested in our lives. And I can hear like a lot of listeners might think, well, it's gonna take me so long to like cook dinner when you have a kid around. And that's probably true. But that's like, it's kind of like, that investment in this early work, like the investment in the early, I talk about like how to tame our temper and things like that. And some of that investment in the early work, like it just pays off so and huge dividends down the line, right? And so I'm imagining you would probably have the same response to like that investment of time when your kid is younger is just going to like pay off hugely down the line.
Yeah. I mean, and people, and I feel this way, right? Like I'm rushed in the morning. You don't have to do it every meal or,
Yeah.
it just even a couple times a week can make a huge difference. And I mean, think about how much it is, right? 1 or 2 meals a week over a course of a child's lifetime, that's a huge amount of training, And so it's like, I tell people, like, start off with a weekend breakfast or a weekend dinner and just be like, can't just leave that calendar space open. And the activity is making the meal together and cleaning up the meal together. And like, that's enough for every child in the world when it's with their parents and with the people they love, their family, and I said, it's like, it, to a lot of cultures, teaching a child to cook and clean and help and contribute is just as important as like piano lessons, or art class, more important in a way. And so they make a little bit of time in the week, or a lot of time sometimes in the week for the family, for the kids to do these tasks together. And another thing I'll point out is when a child is scheduled, there's some really interesting studies on this that haven't gotten much attention, but when a child is scheduled kind of constantly and doesn't have that free time and that boredom, they miss out on the opportunity to learn how to take initiative, how to plan their activities, how to sit there and decide, like, what am I going to do next? What's next in my life? What's next right now? Should I go do my homework? Should I go outside and play? And this is a skill that people have to learn how to do, and a skill that I use every day in my job. And when kids are allowed kind of that free time and that boredom, they develop this skill, and they're much more likely to do things voluntarily, their homework. They're much more likely to take initiative at school. And so, by scheduling kids all the time and not leaving some room open, kids are missing out on some skills. And David Lancey has actually documented some of the skills in some of his recent work, which is really interesting.
Catch new episodes of the Mindful Mama podcast and other free resources, including the Mindful Mom Guide at mindfulmamamentor.com. You can listen to every back catalog episode, including interviews with Dr. Dan Siegel, Iyanla Vanzant, Sharon Salzberg, and get meditations, join our private Facebook group, and more. Go to mindfulmamamentor.com now. I'll see you there.